strategy of long drawn engagement which may be required. I'll give it to Srini, but what it's if you look at the kind of budgets which get spent on search engine marketing, those are the basically the the lead generation, the action, the action oriented kind of budgets, and not and very little of awareness budget. So advertisers are looking at search engines to as places where people click immediately and fill up a form, etc. So I'd like to ask Srini what he thinks about this.
I think it's true that there are certain products where the decision might not be taken instantly. I'll give you a best example. Let's say I'm into the business of selling software now, and that too, let's say I'm selling something like SAP. I don't know, people might be familiar with it, but let's say it's a very complex software. Now, I can't buy the software online with my credit card because the software cost me some 10 lakh rupees. So I need some thinking time for it. But if somebody like that wants to advertise on SEM, what should be my call to action element? I can't say that know more about this product, come to my website and things like those, which anyway the user will do for sure. But again, as Kaushik was saying, people put money on SEM to generate business results. Now, in this case, the best example for a non-impulse product would be, let's say I organize a software demo on a page and say that see my software demo today, and maybe if you're interested, call this particular number and things like those. Again, if you see, everywhere there is a trail of call to action. Maybe the product is very complex. Yes, there is a lot of thinking time that goes in. However, the key point again is it should again end up somewhere. The end pointer is how do I convert the user. So that's where the call to action comes into play. But there are different products for which we have to devise different ways to get the user actioned. So I think that's what the point would be, product to product.
Right. So we see a question about difference between paid search programs of Google, MS and Yahoo. We'll like to take it at the end. Moving on. And we've spoken about the fact that this whole cycle of the whole theme element of between the intent, the actual search term which someone is typing in, the keyword that he sees on the page, the ad that he sees on the page, and the landing page on which he or she lands should be in sync, and that's very crucial. And some snapshots there. You see an ad for Reliance Power IPO. It's just a sample ad by sharekhan.com, and you'll see that they've matched the ad exactly to the to the keyword, and that really is important. It's great if it's exactly that of the keyword. And these are some sample landing pages that were done by Sharekhan, and you'll see that depending on, so they've actually done a separate landing page for people who might be interested in automobile stocks, a separate landing page for people who might be interested in power stocks, and based on the keywords they divert them to these landing pages. So it's not about which keyword works best, but you have to look at keywords and creatives, keywords and ads. I'd just like to ask Srini, because he comes from he comes from a digital he comes from among the largest digital marketing companies in India. What do you do at either the process level or at the tool level to see that this sync between user intent and ad and landing page, that is maintained?
So I think, as Kaushik rightly pointed out, there has to be a proper sync between what you research as keywords versus what is a message that the user sees versus what is there on the page. Now, to answer this, actually, let me do it in another way. So, which should come first? Should I put my page first? Should I design my page, then start working on my ad copies, and then start researching keywords? Or should I research my keywords and then accordingly I would write the ads and do this? This is the confusion that many people would have. So, the starting point again is it always always goes into what the user is looking at, most important part. So that's why again you will see some slides on Google Insights, but it always starts with understanding what the user looks at. Now let's assume, I'll actually give you an example. Let's say we are again in the business of let's say selling greeting cards, for example. Again, the intent there is to sell greeting cards to the user, but what will a user look for on greeting cards? So is it just the greeting cards as a word? Anyway, you will see a lot of ads during festive season which says buy greeting cards, buy greeting cards, and buy greeting cards. But nobody else looks at the other behavior of what it is, like the seasonality part. Let's say if it's a Mother's Day, if it's occasion and things like those. So one company in the US, I take an example, is what they had done is they were in the business of selling greeting cards, and they said that the primary objective is to sell greeting cards. So let me do one thing. Let me first understand, if a user wants to buy greeting cards, what all occasions for which he buys the greeting card. So they mapped all those occasions first. Once the occasions are done, what they went into is they started to customize messaging for each of those keyword groups. For example, let's say they focused on emotional elements, something like your sister is far off from you, so why don't you wish your sister a birthday, things like those, which is slightly different from what we are talking. But if you look at the keyword versus what is there on the ad, it has to match. So let's say it's Sister's Day, or it's Mother's Day, or Father's Day. That's what is reflecting, but with an emotional connect. Number 3 is, when again he goes back to the page, you should ensure that whatever you have written in the creative should actually reflect on the page. So that's how the sync works. So always again point out to the objective, drill down the objective into user need based hooks. From there you have to drive down. I would say first is what the user intent would come. That's how you have to design your pages according to the user intent, and then start writing the ad copies and the keywords, and that's where the sync would automatically come into place, and that's how the quality score aspect of Google also will be taken care. Please don't think that in the SEM space that if I actually get a keyword and if I put the keyword in the ad copy, I've done my job. So that's not it. So Google doesn't look at that. What Google also looks at is what are you writing in the ad which is more relevant to the keyword group that you are looking at. So that's what is primarily important. Then where am I landing that user? Am I taking him to a home page, or am I taking him to a page which actually talks about what I already said on the ad copy? So that's what the critical elements are. So work on the user intent first, then start working on your pages on the user intent, and automatically your keywords and ads will fall in place.
Right, so let's move on. Campaign structuring is another important aspect here, and we all know that if you have a different geography, or if you have a different budget, it is best to make a different campaign. Or if you are targeting completely different products, then each of those products should have a different campaign. But sometimes there are other questions which people have here, and I'd like to ask Tini what he thinks about other ways in which you can structure campaigns. So for example, something which we had come across was that does it make sense to structure campaigns based on the ones which are performing well? Should you the keywords which are performing well, should you keep it under a separate campaign so that they can be tracked separately? So basically, what are the other ways from your experience in which a campaign can be structured?
I think when people structure campaigns, and whatever I've seen currently in the industry that people do is, again, people think if I create some 10 campaigns and create some 20 ad groups and have some 5,000 keywords, my campaigns are good. But again, I go back to the basic point that do you have your blueprint in place? So the first key point is the first thing is put your blueprint in place first in an Excel sheet. It's as simple as it. So first you need to know what are those basic groups that you are targeting. What is it? That map should always be in front of you. Now that's a starting step. Now let's assume once you have the blueprint in place and when you start the campaign, you will realize there are certain keywords which perform differently. So let's assume campaign A with 5 ad groups contribute 80% of sales to your campaign, whereas the others don't do it. So now the key pointer is, now you have a blueprint in place. Now what you should do is put these converting groups into a performer kind of a campaign. So basically, these are your performers. So keep your performers separate from your non-performers because it helps you to track much better. You can customize more ads. You can pump in more money. You can allocate more monies to it. That's how it's more like your stock portfolio. If you know that these stocks are not performing, you remove it, put it into another portfolio. Similarly, the same way here also, what you have to do is create another group, which is a performer group, and shift all those performers there. Maybe increase the budgets, pump more so that you get more conversions to it.
So, no, are you suggesting that the performing keywords should be put under a separate ad group, right? And not a separate
campaign. It should be put under a separate campaign rather than an ad group. The reason is you might have a lot of various keyword variations that happen. The reason is if you put in a campaign, you can allocate a separate budget, and budgets are more controllable. So that's why it's ideal to create a different campaign altogether than a different ad group for that matter. Number 2 is offers. Many a times people mix promotion related ad groups, promotion related campaigns with non-promotion related groups. Again, one of the best practice is always to look at separating out your more tactical oriented into a separate campaign. The reason is, as you know, Google always looks at the frequency at which you change the ads. For that matter, if I'm running a campaign, if I'm changing the ads too often because I'm running promotions, it will start affecting your score. So what you should always do is create a separate campaign which is called promotions. Whatever variations you want to try out on promotions, whatever new things that you want to try out, try in that. So what happens is the quality score will not affect the campaign and the campaign performs much better. So that's how you have to segregate performers, you have to segregate your special offers, and that's how you keep on improving your campaign in a better fashion.
Right. The next point is about PPC day parting. It's again for if you're in the business of where you are delivering pizzas, or if you have restaurants, it's easy to deduce that day parting would be could yield results for you. But sometimes it's best not to work under assumptions. In unexpected categories also you might see the day parting to work for you. Maybe Srini can give some examples of any cases in which it has worked, or maybe even some unexpected cases where it has worked for them.
Sure. I think day parting is very critical because it helps you to manage your budgets very carefully, because you would know what time of the day, because if you look at a marketing spend or a 24-hour cycle, users might be searching 24/7, but again, certain users are serious, certain users are not serious, hence you have to be a little careful in how you spend your money. So it's always good to track your the times of the day. So one of the example we have seen for a financial client is the searches. So people start searching from morning 10 to 12, but they don't give a lead, so basically they don't convert. Suddenly we have seen conversions coming somewhere in the evening, some from 4 to 8 is where the conversions start. Now the question in front of me was, there were people who were searching in the morning, but the people were converting in the evening. So how do I day part now? So the best way to do it is create an experiment where in one campaign you set a time between 4 to 8. That's what we had done. And when we started pumping money between those times, whatever money that was spent, we had a highest conversion rate. It doesn't mean we stop the other part of the day, but we minimize the spend during the other part of the day and only spend during the time when it converts. Similarly, we had looked at for movie tickets. Again, Monday to Sunday, the people booking movie tickets behavior is quite different. What we have seen is Monday to Thursday, it's like all